Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity of coming together this evening. We thank you for your grace and mercy. Please be with us now as we discuss this important topic of proper diet. Understanding the nutrients that you have provided for us is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, our topic of discussion, proper diet part 2. Proper diet part 2. We are continuing from where we left off last day, and we were looking at water-soluble vitamins, and we just have a couple to end this segment. Then we go on to looking at minerals and so forth. So phytochemicals, phytochemical elements are authentic, natural medicines present in plant-based foods. So they are real phytochemicals that are present in plant-based foods. Now, they are found in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts and seeds, legumes, and herbs. So question, can we find phytochemicals in fish? Can we find phytochemicals in beef, lamb, any of the flesh foods? The answer is no. And therefore, phytochemicals are found in plant foods. Now, we should eat more foods as near as possible to their natural state to get the phytochemicals that we need for better health. So what are the great benefits of phytochemicals? They are present in all fruits, vegetables, legumes, and grains. There are thousands of different phytochemicals that exist, but only a few have been investigated. So there are a whole lot more, and the science knows that there are a whole lot more, but just a few have been investigated. They actually provide natural color and flavor to the plants. And so you eat a cucumber. A cucumber has a lovely smell, and you can taste cucumber. And so, the phytochemicals are within these plant structures. They give flavor, they give the natural, beautiful colors, and a range and wide variety of colors in our natural foods. They provide a defense system for the plants. In fact, there are some insects that would shy away from those pretty color eggplants or pretty color tomatoes because they just don't like the color. So these colors actually prepare a defense system for the plants, and the antioxidants that are present within these colorful foods, they perform numerous preventive and healing functions within the body. So flavonoids are another vitamin, and so flavonoids act as suppressant agents to prevent formation of new cancers from procrastinogens. So if there was a potential, for the formation of cancer because you are exposed to a carcinogen, flavonoids actually help in suppressing that carcinogen that you might ingest. They act as a blocking agent to prevent carcinogenic compounds reaching critical initiation sites. That means that it can actually trigger on and develop into a cancer. Then they act as transformation agents to facilitate the metabolism of carcinogenic compounds into less toxic materials. So flavonoids are actually like fighters within the foods. And so by eating foods that contain flavonoids, they are cancer suppressants. And so any cancerous agent that comes into the body, they actually suppress them. They prevent them from initiating, being formed, the cancer being formed and initiated. And they also break it down so that that carcinogen is less toxic to the body. So we find flavonoids where? In citrus, oranges, grapefruits, lemon, cherries, apples, onions, grapes, squash flower, pepper, carrots. These foods contain flavonoids. Then we have isoflavones, a type of phytoestrogen, which is a female hormone of plant origin. So you may have heard about estrogen, and which is a natural female hormone that ladies would produce. But there are foods also that contain estrogen, such as the flesh foods, but plants also contain this estrogen. But it is a plant form of estrogen. This plant form of estrogen, you find that the body is able to tolerate well and sort of, work along. The body would metabolize it. It would also just synthesize it in a form that the body can utilize in a proper manner. However, if you do get estrogen from an animal-based substance or food, that works against the female hormone. It actually increases estrogen within the female body and lead to a negative end. So the phytoestrogen, which facilitates the mineralization of bone and protects against arteriosclerosis and cancer. Food sources are soybean and its derivatives, particularly tofu and other legumes. And this is taken from the Encyclopedia of Foods and Their Healing Power, Volume 1, page 411. So phytoestrogen, it aids in, keeping that bone formation and strengthening the bone. And you find that women, when they enter into the phase of menopause, may suffer from bone mineral deficiency. And so their bones can become brittle, and they would be told you need to have more calcium and magnesium to strengthen your bones. And they also have, less estrogen in the body for themselves. And if they're not getting it from the plant-based source, you could be low on your estrogen hormone, which triggers a lot of effects. Some women would have their blood pressure elevated once they get into that menopausal state, and estrogen helps to regulate that blood pressure and keep it down, as well as it also helps to prevent the hardening of the arteries. So estrogen is a good thing. It's a good hormone to have. Too much of it, though, can cause problems such as fibroids and other female troubles. So let's look at some minerals in our diet. So minerals are essentially covering such things as sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. So sodium, you have functions that would range anywhere, like you can have fluid balance in the cells. So it's important for our cells to have the right amount of fluid in it. And so sodium helps with that. For example, if you have too much sodium in the cell, that can be a problem, but the water intake that we would drink, it tends to even that off. And so the body is really, designed and wonderfully made by our Creator God. And so we find that it has these cells just know what to do. So the sodium also aids in nerve impulse transmission. So there are times when individuals will get cramps, such as in their muscles, because the sodium helps to provide electrolytes to the body and to be able to regulate the blood pressure. So if it is that individuals are getting cramps all the time, among a range of other causes, we would ask, are you using salt? And there are times when individuals may not be using salt, and simply taking some of that salt in, it would help to alleviate those cramps. I remembered I have a nephew, and he must have been like about 3-4 years at the time, and he would say to me, Auntie, my foot hurting me. And I said, oh, you probably need some salt. And because he just loves the pink Himalayan sea salt. So once I told him that he needed salt, and I put a couple crystals in his hand and told him, okay, just lick up that. And he licked it up and he loved it so much. He said, salt is my favorite food. And I'm like, oh no, not too much of it. Too much of the salt can affect your kidneys and so forth. So you do want to have salt. You don't want to overdo. That's why it's very important for us to have the right kind of salt, and one that contains 84 minerals. We are just looking at a few minerals here, but there are 84 minerals out there. And so the salt, the natural sea salt, it contains all of them. The same 84 minerals that's found in the earth, that man was created from the earth. So we do have need for all of those 84 minerals within our body. And so one way to feed those minerals and to satisfy the needs of the body with those minerals is by using an all-natural sea salt, the pink Himalayan sea salt being one of those great ones that we can use. And in doing so, it energizes the body, and the body can break it down nicely without, it lodging somewhere, forming crystals and so forth. It breaks down really nicely within the body, and so you can use it with great success. It also helps in lowering blood pressure. At one time, we were in the UK doing a program, and just about, at the start of the program, Brother Luke, he was speaking, and he came across the topic of salt. It was mentioned, and then he went on to explain the benefits of it. And so individuals who sat in the audience, took heed. There was a particular doctor who was in the audience, and he had a health food store, and what he did, he had that pink Himalayan sea salt in his store, but did not know of the tremendous benefit that it contained. And so in the week, this was like the Saturday, he heard a message about the salt. And in the week that followed, the Monday, as individuals came to him, he said to us later on that he had like about 28 individuals who had high blood pressure. He got in touch with them. He gave them the pink Himalayan sea salt and said, use this. Within 2 days, he saw their blood pressure normalize. It came down to normal levels, and they had high blood pressure, and he was working with them all along. So, he was really amazed by that. And that's not the only testimony. We've had lots of other individuals who have told us by simply using the pink Himalayan sea salt, adding it to their diet, they've gotten tremendous results. high blood pressure lowered, constipation being taken away, proper bowel movement is now triggered. So, there are lots of benefits with the right sodium, yeah, but right kind. The food sources, so you have an unrefined, all-natural sea salt. Sodium is also found in food. So celery, spinach, kelp is another great way to get sodium, but you'll also get lots of other minerals from these foods too. Processed and convenienced foods would have sodium in it, but if it's not an appropriate form of salt, you find that it can elevate the blood pressure and cause other issues within the body. So you want to limit that to about 2,300 milligrams per day. If you are deficient in sodium, you will have hallucinations, convulsions. Any one of these may happen to you. Irritability, headache, muscle cramps, muscle weakness, fatigue, convulsions, nausea, vomiting. So sometimes you'd find too that you may feel sort of weak and weary. If you were to take some salt, that could awaken you. I remember one time it was on a Sabbath morning, and I had to go speak at a place that was far from my home, and so I picked up a couple of missionaries, and I said, okay, we're going together. The route to this destination was a winding road, and I sat in the vehicle. I was being driven, and I had my computer up a while. I could usually read while I'm driving, but I soon felt really nauseous, and so I shut the computer down. I turned the glass down, put my head sort of tilt towards the window, trying to get some fresh air and to feel comfortable again. But I was like nauseous, and I couldn't understand why at such a time I would feel this way when I'm just like minutes away from my destination, and I know the folks are waiting for me to speak. And so I asked one of the missionaries, do you have sea salt? Because this particular one, I know she'd always, most times, have it on her in a little jar of sea salt. It's great to walk with. If you get like a little glass jar and you keep some sea salt in your bag at all times, or even a little Ziploc, packet, you keep sea salt with you, you may need it, or somebody else may need it, and it's really helpful, like a little first aid item. So the missionary said, yes, she has salt. I said, give me some quick. So she gave me, I sort of just put it in the palm of my hand and just licked until I felt comfortable. And I was like 6 minutes away from my destination. And within that short space of time, I arrived. And as soon as the folks saw me, they said, we're waiting on you. We've been singing. You need to go up now. I said, okay. And I was able to just organize the computer with the PowerPoints and so forth, and went up and spoke for 2 hours. And I didn't feel faint, weary, or anything. Thank the Lord for his blessing. But, the salt helped. And the Lord directed, and he provided the means there for that nauseous feeling to go away. So sodium is a wonderful item. Too much, problem, but we do need. Potassium functions. We have muscle contraction. So it aids in nerve impulse transmission. Potassium will aid in fluid balance within the body, so that you don't retain fluid within the body, and you rather have just enough and sufficient for what you need. And food sources of potassium, blackstrap molasses. we find that individuals who have high blood pressure are usually low on potassium. So they may be high in sodium and low in potassium. So one of the things, as I just mentioned, high blood pressure individuals should use salt. Don't say you're hypertensive and you're not using it, but using the right kind of salt makes all the difference in the world. The pink Himalayan sea salt is the one recommended. And potassium, on the other hand, for someone who is hypertensive is usually low. And therefore, if you use potassium from a natural source, natural food source, it's going to be helpful to you because the body will recognize it. It would know exactly what to do with this potassium in order to bring about healing. So blackstrap molasses is one of the items that's recommended for individuals who have high blood pressure. However, if you do have high blood pressure and you have diabetes at the same time, we would say don't use the blackstrap molasses because you are diabetic. The high sugar content in the molasses will be dangerous for you. So let us use something else with potassium. Soybean, wheat germ, almond, fruits, bananas, avocados, vegetables on a whole, they have good potassium, and grains also has potassium in it. If you are deficient with potassium, you can suffer from muscle weakness, cardiac rhythm disorders, so your heartbeats may be irregular, and you can also have high blood pressure if you are deficient in potassium. Here's a little fact about bananas. Do you know that bananas are high in potassium? Sorry, you may know that bananas are high in potassium, but did you know also that they have an unusually high carbohydrate content? Before ripening, a banana is almost entirely starch. After ripening, certain varieties are almost entirely sugar, as much as 20% by weight. So the green bananas that some societies will have and cook that as an item that's, it's great in carbohydrates and iron as well, green bananas, and so they're mainly starch. But then, and the same thing for plantain, which is family to bananas and all the family. But when they begin to get ripe, that starch, carbohydrate, changes into a sugar form. And bananas is one of those lovely natural sweeteners. So you can have natural sweeteners with bananas, with dates, the agave nectar or honey or maple syrup, sugar cane, those raisins, those things are natural sweeteners. And there are some dishes, some recipes, some desserts, like a banana muffin that you can make in the entire thing and never add a grain of sugar, never add even honey or those concentrated natural sweeteners, but simply having bananas in that recipe can give you tremendous amount of sweetening. I also want to just tell you of another great way you can use bananas. Unless you are allergic to it, you freely use it. Individuals who may think, well, I have cereal, but I have no milk. If you want to have milk and you have cereal, but you have no milk, don't worry. You have bananas, you can cut up a few of them, place it in your cereal, add a little water to moisten it, and go ahead and eat. Or you can actually take a banana with a little water and you blend that, and what do you have? A banana syrup. So you blend it, and a banana or two, it's right, and then you pour that on your cereal. It moistens the cereal, your granola. It could be granola. So it moistens the granola, and then it also gives it a natural sweet taste, and you're happy. And you didn't have to, go to the shop and buy milk, or if nuts was too expensive for you, you use your bananas, and you can sweeten your cereal that way. And, the more we think about food, there's so many marvelous ways that we can become creative and get what we want. I remember just the other day, I thought of making some porridge, and it was like sago porridge. And I quickly got everything organized and was stirring, and then, oh, there isn't any milk. And, oh, I don't have any nuts with me. Wow, how can you do a sago porridge and not have any milky added to it? And I was there and lamenting, still stirring the pot. And then the Lord told me, what about rice milk? So I had some rice in the refrigerator, and so while the pot was turned down low, I quickly grabbed my utensils, got some rice inside of that jar, add a little water, add a little sweetener, a little pinch of pink Himalayan sea salt, blended it all up, and pour into the pot. There, I had rice milk. My kids, they enjoy the porridge. Nobody thought of asking any questions, complaints, nothing, and it works. So, you can always utilize these things that you have in your hand, and the Lord would guide you. Once you purposed in your mind to do that which is right, He will guide you, even in the kitchen, to be creative and get things sorted out. So chloride. Chloride in the body exists in the form of chlorine in the body exists in the form of chloride, an essential electrolyte mineral. The functions of chloride are, for example, fluid balance, again, hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And when we come to talking about digestion, we will explain this a whole lot more. That chloride is so important for making hydrochloric acid. It's actually chloride added to water that makes hydrochloric acid within the stomach. As simple as that. A food source of chloride is salt. So, the same salt that we've been talking about is so essential to the blood, as we've read in one of our quotations, some in the lesson back, that talks about the importance of salt, and where at one point Sister White talked about at one point a doctor tried to get them to have health reform without the use of salt, and she endeavored to do so but soon fell weak. And so the Lord instructed her to use the salt, and that salt is essential for the blood. And she went on to say, the whys and wherefores I know not, but I give you the instruction as it is given me. So the salt, again, is shown here that provides chloride to the body. And once you have that within your food and you're ingesting it and so forth, it aids in digestion. There are lots of individuals who have low stomach acid and they have digestive problems. You have acid reflux, the belching, the food doesn't digest in a timely manner, the stomach is burning, and but are you using the right kind of salt? You need to, because here fluoride that is provided in the pink Himalayan sea salt is essential for giving you that stomach acid and enough of it for what you need. So it's the chloride plus water that makes the hydrochloric acid, and the blood brings that to the stomach. So the chloride is important. If you do have a deficiency, loss of appetite, muscle weakness, dehydration, alkalosis, a condition in which the body fluids have excessive alkaline that can result in dangerously high blood pH acid alkaline, and excessive loss of potassium in urine. So if you're deficient in chloride, the pH balance within your blood will be off, and it can cause you to spill potassium in your urine. So you may do a urine test and potassium is high in the urine. What's happening? Why is your body spilling out the potassium? Check, are you having the right kind of salt? If not, start using it. And as simple as that. So one of the things you'd find that when we share information with individuals about reversing their health challenges, and we're telling you go walk, we're telling you drink adequate amounts of water, we're telling you go to sleep at a certain time, we're telling you eat and drink at specific times, and have a time for waking and a time for everything, and folks may think that it's burdensome. I don't think so, and I would like you not to think so. To me, I tell individuals, the whole thing about a daily schedule is that it helps you to get all the important things done in your day, and anything else can happen after that. So when we talk about having all these schedules, it's important. When we talk about using pink Himalayan sea salt, don't take it lightly. It is important and essential for your health, and it may seem quite a common thing for us to be telling you, but it's hugely important. If we're telling folks, to use brown rice, for example, it's hugely important. It helps to build your immune system. It helps to suppress cancer formation. So these things may seem common, simple, but if we don't pay attention to them, we don't consume it, and then we don't get the benefits. But paying attention and following the recommendations and so forth brings tremendous benefits. And so we are encouraged, therefore, to follow the instructions. Calcium, functions of calcium are some of them bone structure. It enhances bone structure. It also aids in blood clotting. So if your blood is too thin, calcium can help with blood clotting. Calcium also helps with nerve impulse transmission, how your nerves communicate with each other, and in muscle contraction. So just with your movements and so forth, calcium is essential for the blood again. Food sources of calcium, sesame seed. It's like the #1 source of calcium. It's high in calcium and in a form that the body can use. So if you had like about 2 tablespoons of sesame seed daily, you can have that with your cereal. You can chew it, or better yet, if you sort of ground that sesame seed so that you're able to get the benefits from it. Once the seed is broken, the nutrients are available for the body to use. Blackstrap molasses, again, is great in calcium. Carob flour is excellent in calcium. Soybean, almond nuts, green vegetables. I think I have a picture here to show you. And then tofu, oranges, blackcurrant. There's the picture. Where does the cow get her calcium from? The green leafy. So don't go trying to drink the cow's milk to get the calcium. That's second-hand source. Go first-hand. Go straight up to nature. Not the cow, but the green leafy vegetables. And eat them. Cook them. Eat them. Eat your lettuce. And you'll get a tremendous amount of calcium there. And sometimes we don't eat enough, so eat up enough so that your calcium intake is adequate and you're able to utilize it within the blood. Why is this so important? Calcium is a major component of bones and teeth. In addition, calcium is required for muscle contraction, nerve impulse transmission, blood clotting, and regulation of cell metabolism to energize your cells. And 1200 milligrams per day is recommended for adolescents and adults, and ages 25 and above require 800 milligrams per day. So calcium status is regulated by 3 hormones that control intestinal absorption. So bone calcium release and kidney excretion, calcitorol, parathyroid hormone, and calcitonin, they are responsible for how the intestines absorb calcium and makes it available to the body. Lack of dietary calcium contributes to the development of osteoporosis and other bone-related issues, osteoporosis, osteomalacia, and a host of them. Regulation of blood calcium. You have the hormones regulates. Vitamin D helps with regulating blood calcium. If your vitamin D level is low, if your vitamin D level is below 30 nanograms per milliliter, your body will not be absorbing calcium. Hence again, when we tell individuals the simple natural remedy of sunlight and the benefits of going out into the sun so that you can increase your vitamin D that's made within the body, and you would be able to have an increase in calcium. So even, when you get that sunlight, your body would make vitamin D and let it come up into the good ranges of 40, 50, 70 is ideal and above. And in so doing, you will increase your calcium within your body. That's why for individuals who have bone-related issues and they're placed on supplements, like one particular one that I have seen out there recommended by physicians is like Cal-D, which is calcium and vitamin D combined. So we can get it naturally, and then if you are deficient in vitamin D and you're not getting the sunlight, you supplement to make sure that your levels come up, so that you can absorb the calcium from your food and increase your calcium levels to the proper range where it should be. Another thing too is that when we recommend exercise, that also aids in increasing calcium within the body, because when the feet hits the ground, it triggers the absorption of calcium. The parathyroid hormone is another hormone that aids in absorption of calcium, and that sits right to the back of the thyroid gland itself. And then calcitonin is another hormone that helps. In your intestines, the small intestines need calcium, your kidneys would need it, and your bones would need calcium. Phosphorus, another mineral is phosphorus. It's a colleague of calcium within the body. So if you're deficient in calcium, most likely you would be deficient in phosphorus. This mineral is an important nutrient, and it takes part in every metabolic process in your body. Phosphorus interacts with calcium to form healthy teeth and bones and nourish the brain and nerves. It is important for transmission of nerve impulses. And phosphorus aids in bone formation, bone structure, and it's a component of ATP, DNA, RNA, phospholipids in the cell. So all these components are found within your cells, and the ATP, it's like a little energizer, the battery within your cell, And so phosphorus would help to energize you and to energize the cells so that they can move along and do what they need to do. Food sources of phosphorus would be bran, wheat germs, sunflower seeds, soybean, sesame seeds, oats, walnuts, spinach, lettuce, and carrot. Deficiency in phosphorus. Taking aluminum-containing antacids in large quantities actually blocks the absorption of calcium from the intestine. If you have poor memory, brittle hair, and nails, you are most likely deficient in phosphorus. Another deficiency is poor bone growth, osteoporosis, increase in skin sensitivity, weight loss due to anorexia, rickets, stunted growth, decreased libido if you're low in phosphorus. So again, make sure you have some of these foods. And like I said in our last presentation, is that you see some of these foods repeated again and again, containing lots of minerals and vitamins. Magnesium, functions of magnesium. You have DNA and protein synthesis, and so it maintains that DNA within your cells, which is very important because if your cells were exposed to any carcinogen, then it could lose its DNA identity and trigger cancer within the body. Then you have blood clotting, that magnesium is also great, and muscle contraction and ATP production. So magnesium is a wonderful item for even a woman in menopausal state. It aids in decreasing those hot flashes. Magnesium is also helpful in sort of quieting the nerves. And you can get magnesium in pumpkin seeds, bran, sesame seed, almond, hazelnut, cashew, molasses, wheat germ, buckwheat, kelp, tofu, spinach, dates, potatoes. All of these foods, you can get magnesium in it. Now, magnesium, there are times when you may feel, say, for example, like a little twitching on the body. So you may have like your hand, it's sort of like a twitching spot, and you could think, well, there's a nerve right there, but it's just like beating, sort of pulsating. I remember a few weeks ago on my eyelid, on my right eyelid, felt that kind of sensation, like a pulsating, beating, feeling. And it was real. You could look at it in the mirror and see the little movements. And I knew what would help that. Pumpkin seeds. And so a handful of pumpkin seeds, and you just eat away at that, and it would quickly just take that pulsating effect away. It just disappears. So pumpkin seeds, these foods, they're great items to always have within the home and to utilize them so that the body doesn't run deficient in them and you're able to be better. So again, some other deficiencies: insomnia. Trouble sleeping at night. What's your magnesium level like? And so we have like a liquid magnesium that we would recommend to certain individuals as a supplement, depending on what their situation is, and it helps with just healing the body, feeding the body with the nutrients that it is lacking and what it needs, and so the blessings come of health is restored to the body. So anxiety is also another deficiency that can take place if you're deficient in magnesium. Hyperactivity, restlessness, constipation, muscle cramps, twitches, soreness, difficulty swallowing, backaches, headaches. And so using the food items would aid in reducing these situations or just taking them away entirely. Some more deficiencies: rest, tightness, and difficulty in breathing. Chest tightness and difficulty in breathing, heart palpitations, high blood pressure, extreme fatigue, osteoporosis. So when you see these situations in individuals, you look at a wide range of issues, but also it's so important for us to look at diet and what are folks having or not having makes a huge difference. And then we would be able to make recommendations for certain foods to increase certain minerals within their body. That's why if sometimes we meet individuals and they're so complicated, for example, they have all of these deficiencies, and it's troubling. And so there you may want to, what we would do is like suggest a mineral supplement and, VM, for example, VM100 vitamins and minerals, which covers the wide ranges of the vitamins and a good amount of minerals to feed the body to help it to be strong and to regain its health. So major minerals and health, hypertension, high blood pressure, it affects nearly 2 to 3% of adult Americans. You have osteoporosis or porous bone that affects more than 25 million Americans, and this is the leading cause of bone fractures in older adults. So minerals are quite important. Here we have trace minerals, and again, you find these trace minerals even in the pink Himalayan sea salt, but in lots of other foods too. So what are trace minerals? Excuse me. So yeah, let's look at a few of them. They're needed in small amounts in the diet, less than 100 milligrams per day. They are found in small amounts in the body. They're critical to many body functions, including the metabolic pathways. These trace minerals are quite important. So they're small, but yet they are important. And if you were even, like, I keep going back to the pink Himalayan sea salt because I know it's just like loaded with lots of wonderful nutrients and minerals. Exactly. And so if you look at the content of the all-natural sea salt and the mineral value, they're small amounts. And because the body just needs small amounts. In that pink Himalayan sea salt has all of these. It even has like gold and silver and, lots of these little things, but they're quite helpful. So let's look at iron. The functions of iron, it's some major functions. You have that it provides oxygen transportation around in the body. Then iron helps with brain function. Iron helps with building your immune system and for it to work well. Iron helps with, and it's an enzyme cofactor or constituent. And enzymes are quite essential when it comes to digestion, but you also have cofactors within the food that aids in the enzyme production and activity. So iron is one of those major trace minerals that aids in helping your enzymes to function well. So the regulation of iron absorption. You have the intestine. So when you eat your food, you do have like the protein furin stores iron in the intestinal cells, and then the intestines itself turn away any excess iron that the body does not need. And that is so wonderful with our bodies. If it has too much of something that we're giving to it, it would get rid of the excess amount. We don't need it, please go away. And it's excreted out of the body. Then iron now would be absorbed. The iron that is absorbed, it is carried in the blood by the protein transferrin. The tissues will store iron or incorporate it in high iron form. Red blood cells contain iron-rich hemoglobin, and blood loss. The females will lose some of that iron within their blood, and so they can become iron deficient and anemia because of an iron deficiency. So storage iron is excreted when cells slug off. When they die, you lose some of those iron in itself. So food sources of iron, fenugreek is wonderful and rich provider of iron within our food. Fenugreek, there's some little yellow seeds. You can cook with them and it adds flavor to the food, or you can make a fenugreek tea where you would drink this tea in order to bring up your iron levels. Spirulina, a natural sea algae. Spirulina is great in iron. Blackstrap molasses, again, soybean, sesame seed, bran, lentils, wheat germ, tofu, oats, olive, spinach. These are excellent iron food sources. Individuals who have take too much iron in, and usually this would be like if you take an iron supplement, and you find that there can be toxicity, which would reflect itself as poisoning in children, for example, or hemochromatosis, or you have iron overload in the body, and that can be problematic. So when iron, if you're low on it, try and use your food sources to get it, because in that way you would not run into a toxic level, because the body would be able to work along with it, absorb it nicely. And in addition to, if you do get iron from these food sources, you're not only getting iron, you're getting other nutrients as well. And that's what happens with these foods that makes iron so great in the body. It's because there are cofactors within the particular food item itself that aid in the iron absorption in the body. When individuals take iron as a supplement, and it's an iron supplement, and it is not one that has the cofactors in it, what happens is that you end up with too much of it, and then the body starts getting rid of the iron. And it's a vicious cycle that now you're still deficient in it, and it can cause other situations. So let's try and get the iron from the food source. If you're iron deficient, one way of knowing is that you will feel fatigue, and some people are extremely tired and weak. And from the time they start to use their food, and or there are good supplements with iron out there. For example, there's one that we have called herbal iron, and there's another one, another iron formula. I'm trying to remember. Fluoridex iron formula. What these supplements, what's good about them is that it's not just the iron alone, but you have the core factors to aid with the absorption of the iron. So you would have the vitamin C and other vitamins within there that would help at the same time in the body's absorption. So if you are extremely fatigued, and a lot of women may experience this, if they're iron deficient, and especially after menstrual cycle, you've lost iron. And so now you need to, take your blackstrap molasses and, and continue to use that daily to build back up your iron levels, and you'd find that you would not be as fatigued and you're able to carry on with your life. So a deficiency in iron would also indicate itself as decreased work and school performance. So very interesting. So because you're weak and tired and you can't concentrate, so the mind, even your vision can be impaired if you're low on iron. Slow cognitive and social development during childhood, difficulty maintaining body temperature. So you feel cold, clammy, or just a low, sort of like low sugar levels within the body, so that your temperature runs low. You can also have decreased immune function, which increases the susceptibility to infection. And then you can have glossitis and inflamed tongue. So factors affecting bioavailability of minerals. So you have oxalate that would affect the bioavailability of minerals. Other minerals competing for absorption, acidity of intestines, a person's need, and fiber. So say the effects of the body's iron status on iron absorption. Depending on the size of the body's iron stores or storage, the absorption of dietary iron, that is iron bioavailability, can vary from less than 1% to greater than 50%. The GI tract increases iron absorption when the body's iron stores are low, and decreases iron absorption when stores are deficient. That's just wonderful. So if you have enough iron in the body, and you're eating your spinach, and you're taking your blackstrap molasses, and your wheat germ, and so forth, then the body says, well, you have enough iron, so we don't need to keep iron. We take other minerals and vitamins from this food, but iron can go because we have sufficient. And so it slugs off and you excrete it. But if it is that you are you're deficient in iron, the body now will, your intestines will take it up. In the Food Encyclopedia, it talks about beetroot, that actually is great for increasing iron levels within the blood. But if you are deficient, you find that it shows the color of the beetroot red shows up in your urine, and it can signal to you that you are deficient. So the body is going to absorb, yes, but if you continue using the beetroot, the body would soon absorb it, and it would build up nicely, and then you find that that coloring would not spill off anymore. It would just hold and keep the iron and other nutrients from the beetroot, but that coloring, it wouldn't spill out once your iron levels are up. So, and among adults, men absorb approximately 6% of dietary iron, and non-pregnant women of childbearing age absorb approximately 13%. The demand is greater, and so the woman's higher absorption rate primarily reflects their lower iron intake and higher iron losses as a result of menstruation. So iron absorption also is high among iron deficient persons. So women especially need to eat more of these foods with iron than the men, because the women, they're losing monthly, but so the need for iron foods are important. So factors that will affect the absorption of iron. the fiber and phytates. Remember when we spoke about how to cook your grains, and we said if the grains were undercooked, in that fiber, the same fiber has phytic acid in it, and so that will rob the body of minerals such as iron, calcium, magnesium, copper, and interfere with the enzymes for digesting protein and starches. So if you have too much phytate food, or you don't cook your grains and your beans properly, you can find that you could run into problems and be iron deficient. And so calcium and phosphorus by a dairy source will make you run low in iron. As a matter of fact, with babies, you find that if they were fed dairy milk, it's so harsh on the stomach that it can cause internal bleeding and loss of blood, loss of iron, and they can be deficient in that. Tannins found in tea can affect the absorption of iron. So individuals who use green tea, red tea, black tea, white tea, chai tea, these teas that are high in tannins, it will cause you to be iron deficient. Vinegar is another thing that would cause you to be iron deficient. So that's why we would say don't use these things, because you're creating a deficiency and you're creating problems within the body. Polyphenols and oxalics, such as in, like the spinach and sorrel and so forth, they're high in oxalic acid. Those can inhibit iron absorption. On the other hand, you do have some enhancers. So vitamin C will enhance the absorption of iron, and meat and poultry and fish would help with that for those who do have it. So that's why people would run for use of these things, but that's not the only way. And so going on a total plant-based diet, you can have other enhancers of iron. Hydrochloric acid that is secreted in the stomach will help in iron absorption, and citric or malic or tartaric acid will aid with that. So stages of iron deficiency, so a depletion of iron stores would have a biochemical reaction such as decreased ferritin. So, and then the depletion of functional iron will also have decreased ferritin saturation and increased electrolyte protoporphyrin, and that would actually have an implication where you have decreased physical performance. And then you have iron deficiency anemia. So iron deficiency actually can increase over time. And so by the time you are iron deficiency anemic, the sign would be that you are decreased in hemoglobin, decreased in hematocrit, and decreased in red blood cells size. So right away, if you do take a blood test and you see that your iron levels are low, you'll also find that if they tested for that hematocrit level, that would also be low because of the iron deficiency. And so cognitive impairment, poor growth, decreased performance, decreased exercise tolerance. People would be tired and can't exercise as well as they should be because of the low red blood cells and low iron levels within the body, and even the size of the blood cells is very low and small. You have zinc. Let's move on to zinc. So the functions of zinc, it's very important. You have fertility and reproduction, hormone activity, sexual maturation, night vision, immune function, hemoglobin activity, lipid metabolism, protein metabolism, gene expression, cell growth, and cell replication. So zinc. The function of zinc is maintaining the skin, hair, and nails, keeping it in good condition. So zinc will help with that, and zinc also helps in the development and functioning of the reproductive organs in the body. Food sources of zinc: wheat germ, sesame seeds, cashew nuts, pumpkin seeds, soybean, Brazil nut, pine nuts, oats, mung bean, blackstrap molasses. You have those foods that you would get zinc in. And deficiency will lead to poor growth, delayed development, and I also want to add even an increased prostate gland if you are deficient in your zinc. Toxicity will show in the form of that you can have copper deficiency or a low immune system. So too much zinc actually lowers your immune system. So you're not able to fight off infections as they come, and you can be sick because of too much zinc. Zinc is excellent in for men who are in their 40s and the in our local Caribbean society especially would need to check their prostates once they're over 40. And one of the important things in helping individuals to overcome and to reduce that enlarged prostate, or if it is that they're leading towards prostate cancer, zinc is quite important in restoring their health. If for the gentleman who has an enlarged prostate, we'd recommend that you take like a handful of pumpkin seeds with each meal, at the end of each meal. And there are certain supplements that we'd recommend that would have zinc in it, apart from some other herbal agents that will help in reducing the enlarged prostate. And men can actually lose zinc if they partake in too much sexual activity, too much stimulation as well. So in what we would recommend is that you lie low on the blessing, you don't overdo. And every 72 hours, the zinc would be replenished. But if you engage in sexual activity in shorter time frames than 72 hours, what happens is that you can run low on zinc. So it's quite important for you to be moderate in all things and have all the proper foods, and you would be able to do well along that line. Selenium. The functions of selenium would be, it's part of an antioxidant enzyme, and so the thyroid metabolism, immune function is enhanced by selenium. So the food sources of selenium, Nova Scotia dulse, so dulse like kelp, the seaweed, come from seaweed vegetables, and wheat germ, Brazil nuts, brewer's yeast, garlic, organically grown foods, and cereals. They actually, and vegetables, they are rich in selenium. So Brazil nuts is excellent. And for individuals who have intestinal problems, or what we call leaky gut or intestinal permeability, getting selenium is quite important in healing and sealing that gut lining. And so Brazil nuts is great. If you have like 3 of those per day, it's going to help with that. Deficiency also be like an increased susceptibility to some infections, and because again it can lower your immune system, and then you have an improper thyroid function. So if you have like hypothyroidism, thyroid dysfunction, getting selenium in your diet will be greatly helpful to you. Then if you have too much of selenium, you can suffer from brittle hair, brittle nails, and an impaired immune system. Iodine is a lovely mineral. The functions would be, one of the main ones is that it helps in regulating your thyroid hormones within the body. Iodine, actually, if you take it within your food sources, the thyroid gland will utilize that to make thyroid hormones. Understand the importance of thyroid hormones, that every cell in your body has a receptor site for 2 hormones. The vitamin D is a hormone, and the thyroid hormone is needed by every cell in your body. So having iodine within our diet is important. So there are times when, I'll ask folks, where do you get your iodine from? If you're not using the all-natural sea salts, pink Himalayan sea salts, that contains iodine, because there are other sea salts out there that may not have iodine. And then you want to get it as naturally occurring within the salt, not that it's added to the salt. As a matter of fact, if you did have a salt that's table salt and iodized, it's stripped some minerals, and so they've added back, iodine. But other natural food sources of iodine would be, so the dulse, the kelp, the salt, the garlic, leafy greens, pineapples, pears, artichokes, citrus fruits. They have iodine. If the soil has iodine in it, it's a nice healthy soil. You find that these foods naturally grow, and then you eat them, you will get iodine within it too. But if it is that you do, so you'd use and again, we don't have a need for large amounts in the body. And so using the all-natural sea salt is going to be helpful. Using kelp in your diet, it's going to be great to just help to regulate the thyroid gland. And so if it is that you do have a problem with your thyroid, we will encourage that you use kelp or dulse or something else, to increase the production of the thyroid hormones. If you're triggering off too much thyroid hormones, then you don't stop using the salt. You still use it, but again, you wouldn't add like liquid iodine to that because it would be too much for the body. The deficiency of iodine will manifest itself in the goiter or an enlarged thyroid gland, and that is explained by, because the body is deficient in iodine, and the thyroid gland needing iodine as part of its food source in order to create thyroid hormones, knowing that every cell in your body has a receptor site for thyroid hormones, if your thyroid gland is not producing adequate thyroid hormones, what is the body going to do? The body is going to say, well, I need thyroid hormones. Thyroid gland produced thyroid hormones. And the thyroid gland will say, well, I am unable to do so because I'm working really hard and I can't do more. The body will say, well, find a way to do more. Thyroid gland would say, okay, I will just expand my factory and make more thyroid hormones. So what the thyroid gland does, it starts working harder, it enlarges. And so it you find now, you look at that throat area where the thyroid gland is situated, and right where you call like the Adam's apple, and you see the thyroid gland, it starts to enlarge. And it's because it has to work harder to produce thyroid hormone. Simply use your kelp, like a quarter teaspoon on your food. You don't even have to sprinkle the kelp on all your food. Mind you, kelp has a fish-like taste, so individuals who wanted to make like patties and have fishy patties, you can do that, and it tastes really nice like a fish. And but the kelp, if you think, well, it has this fishy taste, all you can do is just put it on a little portion of your beans, eat that up, it gets into the body, story closed, you eat the rest of your food. But once you keep using it, after a while, you don't have, you find it wouldn't have that fish-like taste anymore. So mental retardation is another manifestation of iodine deficiency, when the mind is retarded. And this occurs in the fetus when pregnant woman is deficient in iodine. And it's very important, if you are pregnant, to make sure you have adequate amounts of iodine, because the thyroid gland tends to, if you are deficient, you can develop the goiter, and I've seen individuals with that. The thyroid gland tends to work like 3 times more when you're pregnant, because of the whole hormone change in structures and so forth. And so at the end of the pregnancy, a woman can have an enlarged thyroid gland. It's very worrying. And then you go on thyroxine, and you're maybe told, well, let's cut it. And now you cut it off, and a host of problems come from that. And so when you're pregnant, try and make sure you're using kelp, and the pink Himalayan sea salt. Copper, function of copper will be like melanin that's produced in the body. Collagen, elastin production. It enhances the immune function, antioxidant enzyme systems. Food sources of copper: blackstrap, molasses, nuts, legumes, prunes, raisins, beets, dulse, D-U-L-S, dulse. And so copper is quite helpful. If you use these food sources, you do get it, and your body needs it. It's great for your skin and so forth. That's why you see another food source, blackstrap molasses, is excellent for beautiful skin and hair. Deficiency. If you are deficient in copper, you may have white hair, gray hair early in life. So you can also have dry, brittle hair that feels sort of like woolly and steel, kind of, tough bristles in your hair. A sagging tissue under the eyelids and the skin, so it sags if you're lacking in copper. So if you have hernias or varicose veins, anemia, hypothyroid or hyperthyroidism, arthritis, liver cirrhosis, violent behavior, blind rage, explosive outbursts in criminal behavior because of food deficiency, lack of copper. Learning disability, cerebral palsy, and hypoplasia of the cerebellum. Then when you have a high blood cholesterol, iron storage disease, abnormal iron accumulation in the liver, reduced glucose tolerance, and neutropenia or low neutrophils, so that affects your kidneys. So copper is like so important. I mean, all these deficiencies that are listed here are some serious health conditions that if you had it, would you believe that if you added blackstrap molasses to your diet, you could actually be saving yourself from a lot of these things. You know, so it's important, you know, get, again, in your legumes, have this. You know, I wonder how much copper does a fish have? Maybe the artificial one when it's nibbling away at metal in the sea. But, you know, in the plant-based foods, you have all these minerals, lots of vitamins that would feed the body and keep it in good health. Manganese, the functions will be like catalytic production, antioxidants. So for individuals who have like wearing away of their cartilage, get some manganese, you know, antioxidant enzyme system. It also aids in fertility. So food sources, again, will be like your dulse and your kelp, pecans, nuts, almonds, barley, avocados, grains, green leafy vegetables, oranges, grapefruit, pumpkin seeds, blueberries, apricots, peas, and wheat germ. All of these are great in manganese. If you are deficient, congenital ataxia, deafness, asthma, slipped tendon, and you know, defects in chondroitin sulfate, magnesium, poor cartilage formation, repetitive motion syndrome, carpal tunnel syndrome, convulsions, infertility, which is failure to ovulate, testicular atrophy, stillbirth, or spontaneous abortions, loss of libido in male and females, retarded growth rate, shortened long bones. So manganese is quite, again, another important mineral. Fluorine, it helps with bone and tooth structure. Food sources will be dulse, kelp, oats, garlic, carrots, sunflower seeds, green vegetables, almond nuts. Fluorine balance, you can have an excess, can cause fluorosis, molds on teeth. So if you're short in fluorine, you know, your teeth would be looking sort of molted. The impact of fluorine on health. Appropriate fluorine exposure and usage is benefit to bone and tooth integrity, and as such has an important positive impact on health throughout life. Only the minute traces found in food are safe to ingest. So no fluorine supplementation or fluorinated water, because those things are going to be too much. So just a little minute amount that you would get within your food, such as in your kelp and your almond nuts and your green vegetables, your carrots and so forth, they contain fluorine. Sunflower seeds, so that's enough. If you are deficient, you would have tooth decay, weakened bone and teeth, enamel, so weakened bone and teeth, and then the enamel of the tooth structure, it could appear sort of corroded if you are deficient. Chromium, functions of chromium in the body is that it would, you have glucose metabolism. So how do you utilize the sugars, the glucose coming from your food and your carbohydrates and so forth? There's a key benefit in helping the insulin to work properly once you have chromium. So GTF, glucose tolerance factor, and chromium, you always see we add to someone who is diabetic also to make sure that it aids in helping them to reverse their diabetes. But the brown rice actually provides chromium to the body. So oats, barley, cane juice, whole grains will give chromium to the body. Kelp and juice again. Brewer's yeast would help. If you are deficient, looking at some more deficiencies, sudden and abrupt rise in anxiety levels, lightheaded, anxious, and your heart may start racing even after doing some light exercise, sudden decrease in energy levels, chronic fatigue, muscle weakness, and mood swings. Germanium, functions of germanium in the body, it improves cellular oxygenation, maintains immune system, fights pain, rids the body of toxins and poison, and it carries oxygen to the cells. It also, you can find if you are deficient on the other hand, that you would have asthma, cancer, cardiac insufficiency, high blood pressure, leukemia, urethritis, neurotic disorders, softening of the brain tissue, arthritis, and low energy. Food sources of germanium will be, again, the dews, kelp, garlic, onion, aloe vera, ginseng, which is like the root, the ginseng root. And so those things can aid in energizing you, getting rid of asthma, among other cofactors, but germanium is very important. Okay, so we will stop at this point and go to answer some more questions on proper diet later on.